Televisions, PlayStation, consoles, makeup, and even kettles. Well, these are some of the items that were seized in a raid at the Sun City prison in Johannesburg. Correctional Services and police conducted the raid at the Johannesburg Medium B prison on Wednesday night, and contraband that included cigarettes, knives, scissors, as well as cell phones was seized during the late-night search. Let's now welcome Mr. Willem Els, who's the Senior Training Coordinator at ENACT program. Willem, great having you with us once again. Welcome. So quite a big raid, okay, on Wednesday. The loot that was recovered was quite a huge consignment there, consisting of cell phones and their chargers, makeup, and even some adult toys. So I guess the general question, Willem, is how did they gain entry into the prison system?
Good afternoon to you. Unfortunately, we've got a culture of corruption in our correctional services. If we recall the Thabo Bester case that happened in Bloemfontein, even though that was one of our private prisons, the dynamics are the same, where you have the inmates and you have the wardens that are open to being bribed by these inmates in order to make life better for them. There's also what was mentioned by the minister or by the spokesperson that there's also some loopholes that have been identified when the prisoners are being taken to court and or to doctors for medical attention, etc., where they then are able to smuggle these items in. But at the end of the day, that is not a big excuse, because whenever these prisoners are entering the prison, they have to be searched and processed as everybody else in any case.
Absolutely. And speaking of excuses, Willem, I mean, obviously the statement from the facility there says the prisoners found with the contraband will face consequences. Like, what consequences, though? As history has shown us, and I think you've just made a reference to, is that these inmates are often aided by some officials within the prison system, and the corruption is at a much higher level. And if you dare speak about it, you become the target. I mean, I saw a documentary by our current sports minister on how contraband actually enters prison via some of the officials, as you've rightly mentioned. So when will this issue, do you think, then will openly be discussed and focused upon, instead of putting a band-aid on a wound type of approach?
Yeah, I think the new Minister of Correctional Services actually made the point that he's going to be very strict on that. He's going to focus on not only on the corruption and what is happening in the prisons, but also in creating better conditions for the inmates. But at the end of the day, you know, this corruption and this corrupt culture that has been there is all because it seems that there are limited consequences when these people are being found and caught out in perpetrating these acts. So what we need to do is we need a comprehensive counter-corruption strategy for the Department of Correctional Services, where they have to target every official. They have to look at their policies. They have to be very strict. And once these officials are being caught out, they need to face the consequences. We cannot afford criminals to look after criminals in our correctional services.
Willem, how important are these types of raids as well as their frequency? Because clearly this is an indication that someone is not doing their job. Prisoners are TikTok as well as social media star content creators. We often hear that they even commit fraud and even organize murders and other crimes from well inside the prison walls. So, I mean, let's talk about those stringent measures that are needed, especially with the new ministry, in order to curb this practice.
Yeah, in the first place, we have to start to police or to govern the governors. And the governors are those who are actually put in place to guard our prisoners. So we can start off with lifestyle audits. We can start off with searching them and processing them. And there are various measures that can be taken in order to process these people, changing shifts around and also moving wardens from prison to prison where they work, that they don't become too complacent, too well known with these prisoners. We can look at body cameras that can be worn by the wardens. There are many ways that can be exploited in order to ensure that we stamp out this corruption in our prison services.
Willem, as always, thank you so much for your input this afternoon, Mr. Willem Els, the ENACT Program Coordinator.